Hey there. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Baseball Replay Journal. Today we have another game for you. This is the 1908 New York Giants, who are down in Brooklyn taking on the Brooklyn Dodgers. I know we're supposed to call them the Superbas or the something or others, but depends on which newspaper you read. You'll find a lot of newspapers from that era that do call them the Dodgers. And Mike Donlin leads it off for the Giants. And his first roll is a 33 for a 0, and so he goes deep. Donlin hitting .412 this season after 4 games. Next is a 15 for a 2, and he is on third base just like that. And here comes Larry Doyle with a chance to drive in the run here into very, very early going. We're going to swing away with Larry instead of bunting because there's no need to. The roll is a 36 for a 33, and looks like the little E might come into play here. We'll take a roll, and it ends up being a 52. Oops. There we go. I type it out correctly that time, and that ends up being a pop-up to the pitcher, Kaiser Wilhelm, who takes it in for the first out. And that brings up the next New York hitter, who is Cy Seymour. And Cy rolls a 24 for a 13. And so now we look pretty silly for not trying to bunt Donlin home as the two next men make out and can't seem to get him home. And here's Art Devlin. Devlin rolls a 56 for a 34, and that's a little pop out to the first baseman. Jordan has it, and that does it, and we go to the bottom of the first. I tell you, John McGraw would probably behead me for doing that and for not bunting in the run like I'm supposed to. Here's Jordan. He rolls a 15 against Christy Mathewson. That's a little pop up over to Devlin at third base, one away, and here's Tommy Sheehan. He rolls a 54 for 45, and the little E might come into play again. Now that's a 62 is the roll, and that ends up being a fly ball out to right field, and that will be Donlin there to make the out, 2 away. And here's Harry Lumley, who rolls a 66 for a 0, and his second roll is a 43. That'll be a 7 for a base hit. And Lumley is the runner on first base, and that's the first hit of the game for Brooklyn. Now is John Hummel, who rolls a 31 for a 9, and that beats out an infield hit despite the fact that Mathewson has the A. The A pitcher cannot stop that 9 with the runner on first base, and Lumley goes to second base, and the Brooklyns have an opportunity here to make something happen. The next roll is for Billy Maloney, who rolls a 22 for an 8, and that's a ground ball over to third base. Devlin has it. He throws over to Tenney at first for the out, and we go now to the top of the second inning. And it's Fred Tenney to lead it off here for the Giants. He rolls a 55 for an 8. That's a ground ball to shortstop, and it will be Lewis making the play to first, 1 away. Al Bridwell now rolls a 63 for a 31. That's a fly out to center field, and that is Maloney with the catch, 2 outs. And here's Spike Shannon. He rolls a 21 for a 30, and that's a fly ball over to left field to Hummel. And that does that. We go to the bottom of the second inning. Giants not having much offense so far this season. Harry Patty starts it off with a 25 for an 11. That is a single followed by a stolen base, and he winds up on second base for Phil Lewis now. And now comes time to bunt with nobody out. And Lewis rolls a 62 for a 12, and that means that he missed 2 opportunities to bunt, has 2 strikes on him. We're going to bunt anyway. There's a 61 for a 27, and that ends up being exactly what he didn't want to have happen. It's a pop-up to Christy Mathewson. He makes the catch and then throws over to shortstop to Lewis to double off the runner at second base, and now there are 2 outs for Brooklyn. And that fell apart in a hurry, didn't it? Here is Lou Ritter, rolls a 54 for a 45. That is a fly out to right field. Donlin makes the play, and it's over like that. And here comes Roger Bresnahan. Not really 1-2-3, but close enough. Bresnahan rolls a 42 for a 14, and that is a walk, and he winds up on first base. And Mathewson is up there, and he's going to bunt, of course. The roll is a 54 for a 45. We do have the little E come into play, and it's a 16, and there will be an error. That has changed to a 22, which is an error on the catcher. Bresnahan ends up taking third, and Mathewson takes second as the catcher threw wildly to first after that bunt. And here's Mike Donlin in a crucial part of this game with an opportunity to do some damage. We're going to bring the infield in, but we're not going to bunt with him. He rolls a 44 for a 7, and there's a single to left center field, and that scores both runners. Donlin makes it to second base on the throw home. 2-0 Giants, just like that. Here's Larry Doyle. He rolls a 24 for a 13 and strikes out. That is the second strikeout of the game for Kaiser Wilhelm. Here comes Cy Seymour now. Only 1 out, mind you. He rolls a 31 for a 9. And that is a single that scores the runner. And however, that little C means that Cy Seymour was caught stealing as Art Devlin was up there. 3-0 Giants. Here's Devlin. He rolls a 66. And here come the Giants finally. Then a 13 for a 6. And that's a double to right center field. And up now comes Fred Tenney. He rolls a 43 for a 29. There's a little ground ball over to first base. and Jordan grabs it and makes the flip over to Wilhelm, who's covering for the out. Now, bottom of the third inning, and here is Kaiser Wilhelm to lead things off. He rolls a 63 for a 32. That's a fly ball over to right field to Donlin, who makes the play, one away. And here comes Tim Jordan. He rolls an 11 for a 0. And then a 33 for a 1, and that is a home run. Here it says over the right field fence. You tell me where you think this one landed. Tim Jordan with a home run with one out here in the bottom of the third inning makes it a 3-1 ball game. And now it's Tommy Sheehan. Rolls a 61 for a 27. That's a ground ball to Devlin at third, and he makes a play at first. 2 away now. Brooklyn kind of inching back with that solo home run, 3-1 now. And Harry Lumley is up there now, and he rolls a 15 for an 8, and that ends up being a ground ball over to Bridwell at short, who makes the play at first, and that does that. And Bridwell starts up the top of the fourth. He rolls a 41 for a 28. There's a ground ball to shortstop, and it's Lewis with the play and over to first base for the out. Spike Shannon now one out, top of the fourth inning. He rolls a 15 for an 11, and that's a base hit followed by a stolen base. Here comes Roger Bresnahan. Now, Bresnahan's a great hitter. We're not going to bunt with him here. And he rolls a 66 for a 0. Then a 32 for a 6, and that's a double to left center field, scoring the runner, bringing up Christy Mathewson now with Bresnahan on at second base. 4-1 Giants now, top of the fourth inning. Mathewson's going to bunt. We roll a 31 for a 36, and that is a pass ball, which brings the runner to third base. And they're going to bring the infield in. I'm going to take a quick look here at Bresnahan's card. I'm trying to decide if it's worth it to try to call a squeeze play or not. I think that we are going to call a squeeze play. Let's see what happens. This will be fun. It's going to be a 42 for a 13. That wasn't so much fun. Bresnahan is cut down at the plate, caught stealing for the second out of the game, or of the inning, and the score is still 4-1 New York. And I was a little bit greedy, I think, on that one. I probably shouldn't have done that. And here's a 56 for a 34. The little E rule ends up being a 66 way out of the range. That's a pop-up over to the shortstop. Lewis has it, and that does that. And we go to the bottom of the fourth inning, and here's John Hummel. He rolls a 22 for a 7 and gets a clean base hit off of Christy Mathewson. And it's really time to start bunting already for Brooklyn. And here's Billy Maloney. Rolls a 16 for a 26, and there is a bunted ball over to Tenney at first base, and he flips over to Doyle covering the bag for the out, and that puts Hummel on at second base. And now the question is, do you swing away or do you bunt again? I think we probably try to bunt again because of how poor this Brooklyn team is, and he ends up rolling a Harry Patty, that is, rolls a 33 for an 8. That is a bunt over to Mathewson, who makes the play to... who is at Doyle covering at first base for the out. That is the second out of the inning, second bunt of the inning, and now Hummel is on at third base for Phil Lewis. We're going to swing away with him. He rolls an 11 for a 7, and that's a single to left field, scoring the runner. So now it's 4-2 New York, and that brings up Lou Ritter. And Ritter rolls a 23 for a 32. That is a fly ball over to Seymour in center field, and he makes the play. We go to the top of the fifth inning, 4-2 Giants. This one's still pretty close. It's always close when these teams play. And here's Mike Donlin, rolls a 12 for a 24 with the little E. So hold everything. We got to check this one out. And the roll is a 65. That ends up being just a basic ground ball over to Lewis. The shortstop makes the play at first, one away. Here is Larry Doyle, rolls a 61 for a 36. It's changed to 39, but that ends up just being a strike. Next, he rolls a 46 for a 29. That is a ground ball back to Wilhelm, who throws it over to first base for the out. There's 2 away, and here's Cy Seymour. Rolls a 26 for a 27. There's a ground ball over to third base, and it is Sheehan making that play and throws on over to first, and that does that. Bottom of the fifth, and Kaiser Wilhelm leads it off. And he rolls a 42 for a 13 for a strikeout. Now it's Tim Jordan. Dodgers with 1 in the third, 1 in the fourth, and that made this a 4-2 ball game. The Giants, of course, broke out in the third inning for 3 and then 1 in the fourth. Tim Jordan now rolls a 46 for a 29. That's a comebacker to Christy Mathewson, who throws over to first base for the out, 2 away, and here's Tommy Sheehan. And Sheehan rolls a 41 for a 28. Ground ball over to Bridwell at short, and he makes the play at first, and that does that. Go to the top of the sixth inning, and here's Art Devlin. 1 for 2 today for Art, and he rolls a 24 for a 13, and he strikes out. Third strikeout for Kaiser Wilhelm in this game. Brings up Fred Tenney now with 1 out, top of the sixth. And he'll roll a 45 for a 14 for a walk, and then he steals the next base as Al Bridwell's up there. And, what is the count on Al? No count. So apparently, I'm not sure exactly how that worked, but whatever. We'll ask Bill Staff about that later on. Bridwell rolls a 65 for a 35, and there's a little E possibility. And the roll is a 32, so no little E comes into play. It ends up being just a little quiet pop-up over to Sheehan, who gets that in foul territory for the second out of the inning. And here's Spike Shannon. And he rolls a 35 for a 42. He ends up hit by that pitch. And up comes Roger Bresnahan again with time to do more damage, 1-for-1 today. And I'm assuming that he walked at some point in time. He did. There's a walk and a double. And he was caught stealing, of course, at the plate. And he rolls a 65 for a 35. That's a foul out to Ritter, to the catcher, to his cousin, as they would say. We go to the bottom of the sixth inning, and here's Harry Lumley up. Giants clinging onto that 4-2 lead. Lumley rolls a 26 for 32, and that is a fly ball over to right field. And it'll be Donlin getting that one for the first out. Now John Hummel rolls a 64 for a 29. That's a comebacker to Mathewson. Throws over to first, 2 away. Here's Billy Maloney. He rolls a 32 for a 26. That's a ground ball over to Doyle, who makes the play at first. And we go to the top of the seventh inning. Christy Mathewson there to lead it off. Rolls a 65 for a 35, of course. And we have the little E. And little E does not come into play as the roll is a 41. And so Mathewson ends up fouling out to Sheehan right outside of third base for the first out. Here is Mike Donlin. He rolls a 31 for an 8, and that is going to be a ground ball over to shortstop, and Lewis makes the play on over to first for the out. Larry Doyle now rolls a 23 for a 32. That is a fly ball over to Lumley in right field. He makes the play, easy as that. Easy as pie, and that is the third out of the inning. And we go to the bottom of the seventh inning now, Harry Patty, and the shadows must be over that mound because the hitting has gone away. Patty rolls a 43 for a 29. Yet another comebacker to Mathewson, who makes the first out, 1 away. Mathewson has struck out 5 so far today, by the way. Phil Lewis rolls a 62 for a 12. And we have another little E to worry about. And the roll is a 66, so that's not even close. Ends up being a ground ball over to first base. Tenney makes the play, 2 away. Here's Lou Ritter. Rolls a 44 for an 8. And that is a fly out over to Seymour in center field. And that does that. We go to the top of the 8th inning now. And Cy Seymour starts it off, rolls a 53 for a 16. That has changed actually to a 22 because of this rare error randomizer. Seymour now is the runner on first base, and that brings up Art Devlin, and he's going to hit and run. McGraw gives him the sign, and there's a roll 42 for a 39. And that unfortunately means that Seymour is caught attempting to steal, and that play fails, as Devlin is unable to get his bat onto the ball, and he instead rolls a 45 for a 14 for a walk. So he gets the walk, but you better believe that there's probably a fine awaiting him for not hitting the ball there, and now Tenney will try his luck at trying to make contact. He rolls a 53 for a 19 with the hit and run on, and he is hit by the pitch, and that puts Devlin up to second base, and here comes Al Bridwell. Runners on first and second now, only 1 out, and the Giants may have something going. We're just going to have Al swing away. He rolls a 52 for a 27, and that'll be the double play to end the inning. That's a ground ball to Sheehan. He goes over to second base to Patty for 1, on to first to Jordan for the double play, and that does that. We go to the bottom of the 8th inning now, still a tight one, 4-2, and here's Kaiser Wilhelm. Rolls a 52 for a 27, and that's going to actually be a strikeout for Mathewson. That is strikeout number 6. You see, you've probably been noticing this as I've gone along, but I've been missing these strikeout ratings because I'm too excited about what it says down here to look over the scorecard to see what's actually happening. So it's thankful that we have the game to correct me. If we were doing this with paper and pencil, I'd be all over the place. Here's Tim Jordan now. Rolls a 44 for an 8, and that's a little ground ball over to shortstop to Bridwell, who makes the play at first, 2 away. Tommy Sheehan now. Rolls a 55 for an 8, and that ends up being a fly ball out to Seymour in center field, and we go to the top of the 9th, still 4-2 Giants. Shannon now rolls a 62 for a 12. That is a ground ball over to Jordan at first base, who does it himself, 1 away. Here's Roger Bresnahan. He rolls a 24 for a 13, and that's a strikeout, 4 strikeout for Kaiser Wilhelm, and here comes Christy Mathewson. He's going to stay in, of course. And Mathewson rolls a 55 for a 9 and winds up with a single over shortstop. Mathewson with a pretty good game here today. Getting 1 for 3 and was on with that big 2-base error as well, as you remember, in that big 3rd inning. Mike Donlin now rolls a 65 for a 35, and that's a foul out to Ritter, the catcher, and that does that. Now we go to the bottom of the 9th inning. Can Brooklyn pull something off? Here's Harry Lumley hitting only 143 this season. Rolls a 42 for a 30, pathetic roll, and that's a fly ball over to Shannon in left field, 1 away. John Hummel comes up. He's got a more respectable average, 333 there after 23 plate appearances. He rolls a 42 for a 13. Mathewson rings up his 7th strikeout of the game. And here's Billy Maloney. No walks, by the way, for Christy Mathewson. What a performance has been for him. And here's Maloney with 2 outs, the last chance. He rolls a 35 for a 13, and that is a strikeout. Strikeout number 8 for Christy Mathewson. There's your ball game. The Giants win this one 4-2, and they win this one in pretty handedly. The game really wasn't ever that close, not as close as the box score will tell you. And we move on. I hope that you enjoyed that. I'm going to have another game for you tomorrow. Take care. Bye.